Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Smile. Today's guest is Sanjay. Sanjay is a father in recovery who was born in Africa, raised in London, and moved to Australia 19 years ago. His sobriety date is the 13th of January 2005, and he's spent the last 21 years helping others along the path. Sanjay, welcome to Behind the Smile. How are you today?
Good morning, Ash. Yes, I'm very well this morning. Really excited to be doing this podcast with you. Yes.
I'm really excited too, because just to let our audience know, I've known you for about, how long have I been in Melbourne back now? I've been back in Melbourne for 5.5 years now. So I've known you pretty much for 5.5 years, but we've never sat down and had a deep conversation about your story. So I'm really, really honoured that you're here today, and I can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, I'm really excited to share my story because, part of what I do now is just if any way I can help other people, it's a good thing to do. So yeah, I'm here for you.
Wonderful. Well, let's kick it off with some nice, easy questions. I'd love to know, where do you live? What does an average day look like? And what do you do for fun?
Okay. Yes, I live in Melbourne. I've just moved to the suburban area of Melbourne, and what do I do for fun? Last night I was doing my acting class. So part of what I've rediscovered is doing my acting, and I enjoy doing that. I also like to go to do yoga and meditation and Pilates and keep fit. And other things is just playing around with my child, and I now have other children. I've just repartnered, so it's been wonderful to have all of that now back in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. And what does an average day look like for you, Sanjay?
Average day is, Monday to Friday. I have a professional job. I work as a sales person in the cybersecurity industry. So, when I get up in the mornings, I do practices of prayer and meditation, which is a big part of, for me, just to get centered and calibrate and then get on with the day. And then I like to go to I'm doing 3 times a week training and then yoga on every other day, and then get into work. And I'm a bit of a planner at work. I just then set my day, what the meetings I have, emails to respond to, meetings to plan as well, and then get on and do my work, which is selling. I have to bring the money in. That's what I have to do. Yeah.
It sounds like you've got a really full life today, but I never get from you that you feel overwhelmed or that you're stressed by that. How do you manage to hold all of that with everything that you do, including, supporting other people along this journey?
Yeah, look, it's been a journey of learning and probably making mistakes and then learning from those. So I used to get overwhelmed all the time. I was always what I call spinning plates and never finishing anything, and just chaotic, undisciplined. This version of me wasn't around all those years ago. So I've had to learn a lot of this, just how to slow down and try and keep things simple as best as I can. Do I make mistakes? Yes, I do. And then learning how to respond to that and try not to react. It definitely helps that I've learned a lot of what I call centering techniques to give me that balance that I need. Having said that, I'm not a saint. I do cuss and swear and do things I'm not very proud of sometimes, and so I have to rectify that at the time. But on the whole, it's been a journey. Definitely last decade or so, of really, really trying to ground myself each day, and that's what I've learned to do. Kind of spiritual tools that I've been exposed to. Yeah.
Hmm. I definitely want to dive into those spiritual tools a little bit later in the conversation, but I think right now it would be wonderful for us to talk about your photo, Sanjay. So
Yes.
I've asked you to bring in a photo today from a
Uh,
time in your life where you were hiding behind a smile. So that means you
yeah.
were presenting one version of yourself externally, but
Yeah.
internally you were struggling. Could you
Yeah.
please describe for our audience the photo I'm bringing up on the screen right now? What are we looking at here? And what
Okay.
was actually going on for you at that time in your life?
Yeah. Okay. That photo would have been taken um, with a bunch of my friends at the time in the mid-90s when I would have been about maybe 25, maybe 26, probably celebrating a birthday. If you notice, I have hair then, so things have changed. Um, I'm holding the Face magazine, which is no longer around, but that magazine kind of captures the essence of the times I grew up in London in the 80s and 90s in my teenage and 20s, which captures music, fashion, partying, and everything that goes associated with all of that. I loved all of that. I loved dressing up. I loved going to the parties. I loved I loved music. I loved dancing, and yeah, for me that was the lifestyle that I led, and I worked hard and played hard and probably took things to extremes, but inside, I knew there was feelings of well, what your podcast name is behind that smile was a lot of kind of feelings of anxiousness, fear, separation. I couldn't really put words to it at the time, but I just had this feeling of lack. But all I ever wanted to do was just party, to be honest. And every single
Mm,
day I would be planning that or doing that,
mm,
and
mm.
and so behind that picture, and if you look, there's words that my friends have. If you look close, if you zoom in, there's words there that they put in there that probably described me as well. I think it's mad as hell. I can't remember the exact because I haven't got the picture in front of me, but yes, some words around hell and stuff. And so it's interesting, actually. It was hell, but
Mm,
yeah. But as far as I was concerned, we were having a great time, and
mm,
that epitomized that picture epitomizes those times for me, and that was
mm,
that was a long time. That was 19 years from the age of 15 to 34.
mm,
Yeah.
wow. So tell me, Sanjay, what were you like growing up as a child? Did you grow up in London, and was that feeling of disconnection there from the beginning?
Yes, yes. Earliest memory is actually dad coming home drunk. Okay, so I lived in that kind of dysfunction for a number of years from the age of 5 when I saw that. I didn't want to be what dad was, There was, for me, I was the eldest of 4 boys. Growing up with that fear, walking on eggshells, I would call it. There were some good times, don't get me wrong, all the kids played outside. There was maybe 20, 30 kids that we just used to play football, soccer, as you call it, every single day and go to school and muck around. But in the home and other areas of my life, I just felt this lot of fear,
Mm,
and and uh, and so that was masked by my smart mouth. I was funny. I was good at sports, and that helped me to fit in. But I remember very clearly I was always I couldn't sit still. I, like say, Sanjay, sit down. I can't. And I was just restless. I was just ants in my pants, as they used to call me.
mm.
Just
I imagine, as well as the oldest of 4 boys living in a home where alcohol was present, there might have been a sense of responsibility for you to take care of your mother and the
mm,
younger siblings. Was that the case?
absolutely yes. So growing up probably before my time, having to
Mm,
become an adult as a kid, yeah,
mm,
being
mm.
responsible and caring for others and or kind of taking that responsibility as the eldest child. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
so a lot of that. Yeah.
Mm. Did you tell anyone how you were feeling? Were you able to confide in any friends, or was it more that bravado, that character that you just started to build as an armor around the reality of what was going on?
Couldn't really talk to anyone. We did probably in those times. It wasn't even talked about. It was probably normal that
Mm.
most families had some kind of dysfunction. I don't know, but all I can remember is that most of the families had 4 or 5 kids. We were four. There was another group of five, another group of six. It was so. Um, though it's quite a reserved culture in England when you're growing up. You're not really, just stiff upper lip and you just get on with it, and you don't talk about emotions or feelings. And
Mm.
no, that wasn't around. And
Mm.
yeah, quite a quite a masculine, you know, just as I say, playing lots of sport, fighting, doing things we should be really be doing, stealing,
Mm.
yeah, we were street kids, really. I would imagine. I would describe us as, yeah, yeah,
And you mentioned that you were born in Africa, so you migrated to the UK. Was
yeah,
that the case? And so how did that
yeah.
then impact your sense of self as well?
Yeah, so exactly. So I always felt an outsider because I'm a refugee.
Mm.
So um, we were product of empire, really. The British had brought my heritage as Indian people to Africa, probably from the 1800s onwards. My family was there for a long time in a country called Uganda. I was born there, but then there was a military coup, and the dictator just said, "You will have to get out." And so I was a baby, and we all had British passports because we're British subjects, and so we ended up in London. Yeah. So yeah, had that feeling of separation. So I wasn't English as such, but whatever, I had to kind of fit in, and make the best of it.
I can only imagine, you spoke about having that sense of fear within your family home, but then that generational trauma as well. Like,
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
only imagine the fear your parents had
mm,
being told that they had to get out of their place of their home to go to a
mm,
place that they hadn't been before with children. I mean, it's a lot.
absolutely. And they were only 19 and 20 years old, so
Oh my goodness, so young.
they were young, and we only had to leave with, what was it, $200, and we were quite well off, actually.
Mm.
Dad worked in a factory. My grandfather worked in coffee. So we had to leave all of that stuff behind, and so yeah, and start again. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So,
Mm.
but I don't really remember because like I say, I was only 18 months, maybe 2 years old when I
Mm.
came to England, and so yeah, I had to adapt and go to school and yeah, and just try and
Mm.
fit in. And as I said, I was quite cheeky, smart with my mouth, and just played sport, which kind of got
Mm.
me to assimilate really quickly. Yeah.
And so tell me, when did you start drinking? What did that look like?
Oh well, yes. Yeah, so the story is that, as I said, I didn't like alcohol because what I saw Dad do in the
Mm.
household. So it was kind of like, I'm never going to do that. But to fit in on a school trip at the age of 15, we went to the Lake District on a school trip, which is in northern England, and beautiful part of the world, and mountains and fresh air and all of that. And so for a kid from where I grew up, this was like, oh wow, this is nature. And and to fit in, we kind of left where we were staying, the teachers, and so we just went to the pub. And yes, that's what we do. And to fit in, I took a drink,
Mm.
and I loved it. And I realised why Dad drank. I went, this is great, and it did for me,
Mm.
which I could never do for myself. And it enabled me to converse more and participate more and feel part of and connect. I always say this now with the lens I have, is that it was a kind of a spiritual experience, a fake one, but it was a good one, and I loved it.
Mm. Mm.
And then I chased it.
What did you love about it? I know for me, it it turned the volume down of the inner critic. So I had a really vicious, loud inner critic who came online about the age of 3, and taking my first drink at 12, it was like that volume just got turned down for a brief moment. You speak about this being some sort of like pseudo spiritual experience for you, but what was the actual feelings associated with that?
The feelings were, I was kind of accepted and part of life at last, right?
Mm.
So that's purely what it did for me, and my brain just lit up. Whatever the chemicals are, they all got fired up, and all I can say is that, um, and I even, as a kid, as an example, there were certain things I used to do, or eat or drink, which used to light me up, and then I'd want more of it. So it
Same.
may not necessarily be alcohol, but it was sweets. Or I remember climbing, when my mum had the 2 younger ones who were babies. I remember particular climbing in the kitchen to get to the gripe water and just drinking the whole bottle of gripe water because I loved the taste and I loved the feeling it gave me. It's supposed to
Yes.
be for the babies, but and then mum would say, "Where's it all gone?" No, not me.
Yeah.
So anything. So I likened it as just a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling inside. It filled this, and I'm pointing to my chest and in the inside, and I just went, "Wow, this is it. This is it. I found something that gets me to feel part of,
Mm.
and I loved
And
it."
I imagine as well, Sanjay, that as a child who had been carrying this fear around,
Hmm.
because alcohol has a direct impact to our inhibitions and our
Yeah,
sense of fear, that also would have been turned down. And it's like, oh, I can
yeah.
breathe. The weight
Yes,
of that fear is lifted for a
abs-
brief moment.
absolutely. All of that stuff is lifted.
Mm.
I feel excited, and then I could talk, because I was quite, I would say, introverted but extroverted at the same time.
Mm. Mm.
Shy but not shy.
Mm.
It's really weird
Mm.
how, but I felt both at any given
Yeah.
moment or any given situations and times. I was either bigger than or less than.
Mm. Mm.
Never right. And then I took that a drink and I went, wow, this is exhilarating.
Yeah, I get it. So talk to me about the chasing. You said that you chased it up until, well, what we know will be your rock bottom, and we'll talk about that
Yeah.
in a moment. But what did the next 15 plus years
Ah,
look like?
yeah. So let me just describe the times in the late 80s. So I'm probably not trying to give my age away, but let's just say I was 18 in 88, and we discovered by then. So this is now a couple of years of drinking and everything else. But then I was part of the generation that discovered this new thing called dancing in fields and taking a little white tablet. And wow, we loved it. We loved this whole new scene. It was underground. It was new. It was refreshing. Um, and it was community. It was, it was brilliant. And I loved music and this dance music that came at Acid House and house music and DJs and going around and dancing in a field for all night till 6, 7, 8 a.m. was amazing. And you could do
Mm.
it on a few pills, right? As well, not necessarily. There was drink, but we just took drugs basically, and more, and then I wanted more of that.
Mm.
Yeah, it was the same kind of feeling as I just described with the drink. But so it's now drinking and then the drugs together.
Mm.
But we were exciting times. All I can say, and the fashion that went with it, and we were cool kids wanting to dress up and go out, look
Mm.
good, feel good, dance good, chat to girls. But mostly it was about that. It was tribal. It was almost tribal feeling. Everyone dancing
Mm.
together, getting sweaty. Um, this, as I say, late teens, and I had arrived, as it says in my literatures, and um, yeah. I just loved all of that.
Hmm. When did the consequences start to show up? When did it stop
Yeah.
being fun?
Very quickly, because I didn't have an off switch. And then I wanted to continue to do that. So it's not just weekends now. I wanted to do it in the week when I'm at work. One of the first jobs I had was at 19. I landed a job. I've always been in sales. First job was knocking on doors. If I didn't sell, I didn't get paid. And then one of the jobs I landed was phone sales at 19 for a brewery in Kentish Town in London, which is near Camden, which a lot of people know about. And that just introduced a whole bunch of new clubs and bars in London, and I was full of ego and and I could get into all these places for free and know the bar owners because I was selling to them, and that became an exhilarating part. And so, but I knew then there was something wrong because I was going on these benders and starting to feel a bit, um, uh, just despair at the end of the benders, and this was now late teens. Wasn't, it was very quickly that I didn't feel right, but I still wanted to go out and party and still do all of that stuff. And I loved, because I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So there was this dichotomy of I love it, but it's also then, affecting work. I couldn't pay my bills on time. Relationships weren't happening, so, but in a way I didn't care because I'm in the bubble now. I'm in the bubble, but I don't know it's alcoholism or addiction at the moment. I just think it's just some problems I have in life. Yeah.
And I think as well, when you start to build an identity around that behavior, your work environment is surrounded by it, your social life is surrounded by it. The idea of removing it is it's not even within your periphery. The option of actually putting the drink down or stopping the drugs it's not even an option, is it?
No. And I can be brutally honest to say, if you try to tell me or try and point out that I may have a problem, you weren't part of my life. I would push back. I would be rebellious. I would cuss and swear and cause drama, because I was utterly consumed with what I wanted to do and how I wanted to live life, and irrespective of the fact that I was burning stuff to the ground, I didn't care. And so that's what I lived in. I lived in this, can't see it at the time, but in this cycle of just going on the benders, pushing self-destruct, getting stuff and then destroying it. And that went on, those cycles went on for a number of years. Yeah. I started then to knowing there was a problem, to see doctors and psychiatrists and counselors, because I knew there was something wrong with my behavior. So I had that wherewithal to go and see someone, but I didn't have the capacity, to be honest. How much do you drink? Not much. Do you take drugs? No. I'm completely lying because I can't tell the truth, because it's almost like I have a secret life and no one else is going to know this secret life, which I get up to on the weekends.
And so for most of us who step into the path of recovery, things have to get so bad that the pain of change, it forces us. We can't stay in it any longer. So what did that look like for you in terms of your journey to your rock bottom moment or the jumping off point? What did it look like?
Yeah. There's a general thing out there that a lot of people kind of hit rock bottom around 26, 27. There's this famous thing, obviously, a lot of people in their lives at 27. That happened for me. So I was 25, 26, 27. And now at the end of these benders, this is drink, drugs. For me, gambling is also part of my story. At everything I did was to excess and to extreme and to basically addiction, to be honest. I had a compulsion for all of these things. I started to feel suicidal. I started to ring at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Samaritans in the UK where I was growing up, Lifeline here. Because at the end of these sprees, I was very low, very depressed, in a very dark place. But I didn't know where to go. I knew I could call these and talk to someone, and that would give me some respite for a few hours, and I'd wake up in a stupor, promising I won't do it again, but then do it again. And that lasted another 6 years or so, 7 years. I was working, but not really productive. But I was good at my job. I was in sales now in the technology industry. And I did geographicals. I came to Australia as a backpacker in '97, and thinking, I needed to get away from London. Thinking, but my head comes with me. I did, and I was doing exactly what I was doing in London when I was living in Sydney for a year, and then I went to South America because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I was, and I'll be brutally honest, I was arrested in California doing things I shouldn't be doing.
Wow.
And so this is really, this is late 20s now, getting down, going down the scale. Got really scared when I got arrested, but still kept doing what I was doing. Still kept drinking, still kept drugging, still doing all of this. But my spirit was slowly eroding. I could see that. My friends was starting to now pull away. Family weren't as helping me as much. And so I managed to, I don't know how I did this. I think because I had a really good year at sales, even though I spent most of my money on drink and drugs, I saved a little bit to buy an apartment. And I lived in northeast London in a place called Walthamstow. And in that place is where I kind of was getting into a real rock bottom. So I stopped paying my mortgage, hardly ate. I just lived for 24/7 for drink and drugs and everything else. And what happened was my family had enough because I was lying, cheating, stealing off them. As I say, my friends didn't really want to hang out with me anymore. I was getting more and more isolated. So I hit this kind of rock bottom and I don't know, and I can only now put it down to providence and higher power or whatever. I went to a doctor and I finally got a little bit honest, Ash. I just said a little bit of what I used to do. And he said, okay, I'm going to write a letter because I think you need to probably get somewhere. Stop doing what you're doing. And then I went back to my apartment. And then the job I had, which was for a major telecommunications company, I didn't realize this because I used to stuff all the literature letters at the bottom of my drawer, didn't open letters and stuff. And one day I just decided to open this letter and I had health insurance. And I didn't realize I had health insurance. And I went, oh, okay. And then in the back of the health insurance pamphlet, there was a list of hospitals. And what happened was I went, and one of them I recognized. The only reason I recognized it, I used to read the papers and see where famous people used to go for drying out. And it was the Priory Hospital in North London. And I went, that's where I need to go. So, I rang them and I said, I need to, and I thought I was going to say just, because the doctor had written not just symptoms, but he did write the word depression. I said, I'm going to tell them I've got depression, just kind of just skate over the real issue. But the word that came out of my mouth when I rang them was, can I speak to someone about addiction? And I cannot understand, or I can now understand that was probably something bigger than me getting truthful finally. And the lady said yes, and she put me straight through to Dr. Brenner, the lead psychiatrist at the facility. I was booked in to see him the next week. So I turn up to go and see him the next week in a suit that's not dry cleaned. My shirt is probably dirty. The cuffs are worn. So this is where the appearance is not 100%. I'm not a vision for you. I can tell you that. And I was shaking, and I gave this guy the letter. And he's the lead psychiatrist, and he looks at me and he looks at the letter, and I'm sitting about a meter away. And then he says this thing. He says, "I see a little boy," and I'm 34. Immediately, I break down and cry, and cry and sob and cry, because the outer wall that I used to present to the world, he smashed straight through it. And I was like, wow. And he said, "You're in trouble, Sunshine. You need to come in straight away. You're an alcoholic addict, and there's a 28-day program here that we can do for you." And I said, "Oh, no, I've got things to do. I can't do this.
I'm too busy.
I'm too busy." This was November 2004. And he brings up another therapist, and it's based on the Minnesota model, where the therapists are ex-alcoholics addicts who've gone through their program and then become therapists. And this guy Steve told his story, and I went, "Oh, that's my story." But even then, I said, no, I've got better things to do. And then I didn't go. I left that facility, and that Christmas, because it was late November 2004, I went on a big bender to Berlin. I left London, and I just went to Berlin on my own, and I just partied in Berlin for two or 3 weeks. But the seed was sown, because when I was on the bender in Berlin for 3 weeks, I was telling these Germans, I'm going to go to rehab when I get back to London. They're just laughing. They just think I'm mad, you know. But it's almost like it was like my final, because something had touched in here that I have to get well, or be happy at least, or the problems to go away. And so what happened was that I came back to London, and again, just because I'm so full of fear and control at my work, and I spoke to my boss and said, "Can I take a month off?" And because I had a pretty good year, actually, even though I was mad, and I was functioning, he said, "Yeah." And so again, another piece that enabled me. Then I went, okay. So I rang the Priory and booked myself in, and I drove there on January 13th, 2005, and that's my sobriety date.
Wow. That's unbelievable, Sanjay. So many, I mean, for me, I call them God jobs, where it was just like the right time, the right place. You were able to hear the message, especially that person coming in and sharing their story, and you having identification. What happened once you arrived in the Priory? What do you think was the shift when you arrived at the Priory?
What happened was, when I arrived at the Priory, was, and by the way, I don't know anything about the program. I don't know anything. I don't know what these facilities do. All I knew is that celebrities went there for 28 days and then came out. So I had no concept of anything, 12 steps or AA or any fellowship, nothing, nada. So I go in thinking, they're going to just give me techniques and things to work on myself and get better, and and I don't know. First thing they say to me is that you have a disease called addiction. I was in the addiction therapy unit. There's no cure. And I was sitting in a circle with other people, and I was shaking, shivering, because I was detoxing. I could only look at the floor, couldn't look you in the eye. So I was so broken inside. They said there's a meeting tonight, and it's mandatory for everyone to go. And they were lucky in the art block that they had next to the main building. They had a meeting. As I walked into that meeting, shuffling, looking at the floor, very broken. There was all these kind of happy people greeting people, and I was like, "What is this?" And someone wanted to give me a hug, and I said, "No, leave me alone, all right?" And then someone said, "Listen to similarities, not differences." As I walked in, I went, "Oh," sat at the back, nodding to myself, shuffling to myself, and a guy shared his story, and because of the person had said, "Listen to similarities," I just went, "Oh, that's me. That's me." So that was my introduction to recovery. And this room of full of people. There's 30, 40 people in there, all walks of life. Mostly, though, I would say a younger crowd, and they seemed to be happy. And I hadn't felt happy or joy for a long time. And there was smiling faces. There was biscuits and tea. And I was like, "Oh, okay. All right, this is," and I've got this, there's in most meetings there's a word hope. I've got hope because someone else shared, and I went, "That's me." These are people I wouldn't mix with or wouldn't see otherwise, but they told my story. And so what the Priory did really, really well is just break down in the 4 weeks I was there, the fact that I was an alcoholic addict, and they get you actually to do the first 3 steps in there as well. I had a lead therapist as well. So I had to deal with some of the childhood stuff and the trauma stuff, which is not about alcoholism or addiction. It was just my upbringing and stuff. But they really, really emphasized that addiction is a disease. And I should have realized it was a psych ward I ended up in.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even see that. I was reminded by Hillary. She said, "Sanjay, the windows only go so far." And I went, "Oh, yeah." And by the way, Ash, I wanted to leave after 7 days. I've got this now. I don't need any more.
Yeah.
Something got me to stay. And I made friends in there. Andrew was a good friend of mine in there. Paul, who's a really good friend of mine now, he came in with Adam and kind of 12-step me even further. They're brothers in the firm, as I call it. And I've got to say, I landed in a hotbed of 12-step AA Big Book recovery, which really put me on a really good foundation.
So let's talk about what happened when you left. How did you, those first 12 months, many say the hardest. I found my second year a little bit harder, not to scare anyone off, but, those first 12 months, you really are fighting the old conditioning, the old, the psychological framing of something happens, I pick up a drink, whether that's good, bad, or otherwise. Something happens, I pick up a drink. So what did you do? You mentioned 12-step and that you were introduced to the Big Book. Was that part of creating a solid foundation for you to create what has now been over 2 decades of continuous sobriety?
Absolutely. So I am by nature self-absorbed, rebellious. You can't tell me what to do. I have my own ways of doing things. So for the first time in my life, what I had to do, though, was put all that to one side and ask for help. So in the 3rd week of treatment there, at that very same meeting that we were going to, I asked my first sponsor, Joel, would he help me? He asked me 2 questions. "Have you had enough? And are you willing to go to any lengths?" I said, "Yes and yes." And then he said, "Have you got a book?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Great, meet me at my house." And we commenced the work. He was dyslexic, by the way. He was 2 years in, yet he took me through the work. And that foundational year was about doing the steps thoroughly but at pace and quickly. It was being of service. I remember putting out chairs at one meeting, being a greeter at another meeting, and I went back to work, and I was doing 7 meetings a week after work, doing the service thing, going through these steps, because Joel knew he needed to get me to have a spiritual experience fairly quickly. All that he'd been taught, and the reason he'd been on fire, and that group was on fire, where American speakers had come out 6 months before to a convention and fired all these people up with that version of recovery, which was Big Book Recovery, and I'm so grateful for that. So my foundational year, and they said this first year is about you to build a strong, like a house. The house is built on foundations; it has to be strong. This is, you're building a spiritual house, and so I just did what I was told, despite my head saying, "What am I doing? This is not good enough." Screaming and moaning because things weren't going my way, but having an open mind to it all. I mean, and by the way, I didn't come here with God or spirituality or any religion or anything. As far as I'm concerned, I was it, I respected people. I wasn't an idiot. I was like, I read lots of stuff, and I liked watching documentaries, and I liked reading and everything else. But I just thought it was over there for other people. But for me, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. So I had to keep an open mind, and it was just spirit of the group. There's enough to me to get started. Yeah.
And so what happened then once you got through the steps and you started helping other people? How long after that did you move to Australia?
Sure. So by the way, Joel got me to start sponsoring people at step 9.
Wow.
He said he was like, "Well, you can read. You're smart." I said, "But he said, "No, you're going to relate to someone. Get in the trenches. We need you." And there's a little saying in London at the time, which I really like. For every nut, there's a spanner. And he said, "You're going to open up. You're going to open up people that I can't." Because the whole asset, my story is an asset to someone, and because it's all about identification. It's about one alcoholic or one addict talking to another. That's in the simplistic term. This boils down to, because those doctors and psychiatrists and counselors couldn't help me. But when I sat in front of somebody else who'd gone through the same things, been there, done it, but then showing me a way out, there was this connection made. So he said, no, you can read, start sponsoring people. So I remember at step 9 when I was making my amends that he got me to help somebody else. And so, look, what happened was I built that foundation that first year. I was on fire though, because of all this work I've been doing on myself. And by the way, I did, as well as doing the 12-step work, I did go back to the Priory and see Patty on a one-on-one basis to deal with my trauma stuff of being an adult childhood alcoholic. That's stuff that couldn't be treated in the 12-step. It had to be treated in a one-on-one counselling. I'm a big believer in that. There's things that the 12-step can't treat. And so as well as I was doing that all in Paris, I was on fire. So by about October, November, when I came in January, I was on fire. I was on buses, probably telling my story to people, in coffee shops, going on the tube in London. I had my little big book with me. I've still got it. It's all tatty now. Lots of sellotape around it, and I used to go to meetings all over London, and there's a crew of us, me, Paul, Adam, Michael, Spence, Oz. There's about 8-9 of us, and we're all now 20-21 years sober.
Wow.
Because
that's amazing.
we ran in this little pack, and we drove to meetings all over London and Essex and Hertfordshire, where I grew up, and it was good. It was good fun, and we made it fun. We took the work seriously, but we didn't take ourselves seriously. I always say that. We had a lot of laugh and taking the piss out of each other, and but that's it was a lot of fun. But the seriousness was doing the work. Yeah. And then I came to Australia what happened was Patty told me that to make amends to my culture, go to India and do some yoga, which I was into. I said, yeah, sure, I will. And so January literally a year in, the following January, I went to India and I met this girl and we got chatting, and then she came out to visit me, and then she was from Australia, grew up in Queensland, but had lived in Japan for a bit, and we were married within a year, and then I moved to Australia in April 2007.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I had to make a decision with 2 years of recovery behind me in London. Do I move or stay? But something in me said, no, no. And all my friends were saying, no, this is what recovery is about. Enjoy life. Go for it.
Mm. Mm.
And so I moved to Australia in '07. Yeah.
Did you plug into the fellowship the moment you landed? What did that look like?
Yeah. So my first meeting when I landed was, I think it was in the Salvation Army at the top of Burke Street, lunchtime meeting. I went to there. And there was also another meeting downstairs in a basement in McKillop Street. I used to go there, and I picked up my first sponsee, because I was 2.5 years in. I had to keep doing what I was doing. And I had the voices of all my friends in London saying, when you get there, keep doing the work and everything else. So as well as Alcoholics Anonymous, I have to say that I'm a member of CA, Cocaine Anonymous. And that was probably the primary fellowship, because they used the big book in London, that I got clean and sober with, as well as AA. So I was going to both. And so I started the helpline for that when I landed in Australia.
Wow.
But there wasn't obviously any CA meetings, so I went to AA meetings, and I didn't find a home group for 2 or 3 years. I was still trying to contact Joel back in London. And then my friend Paul said, Sanjay, because he was living in LA doing his stuff. He's a model and becoming an actor, and I used to go and visit him in LA, and we used to go to meetings, and he said, Sanjay, make sure you just get a local sponsor. I went, yeah, okay, I will. And so eventually what happened was, after 2 years, and a couple of hit and misses with asking people to help me get sponsored in Australia, I rang a guy's number that I'd been given at the lunchtime meeting, and that was for a men's group in Melbourne. And I've been part of that men's group ever since. It's like 16 years. So, and the reason it was good for me was it just felt familiar. It was all about the big book and literature and doing the work and keeping it that simple. Yeah. And it felt like, okay, this is familiar. Yeah.
What I hear as you share that part of your story is the importance of connection, because I think so many people fear sobriety because they're worried about being lonely, and they're not sure how they're going to connect with other sober people. And I was just having this conversation with a young woman the other day. She said, I haven't had a drink for 2 years. She's not in 12-step. I haven't had a drink for 2 years. I don't know where I fit in. I feel really alone. I said, come to a meeting. Like, just come, check it out, just see, because it's such a beautiful part about our fellowship, isn't it? You could go anywhere in the world and walk into a meeting and you will be welcomed with open arms.
Yes, exactly right. So I do believe a major part of the illness of addiction is disconnection. Is that feeling of lack and feeling separate from, even when I was in a crowd, and that's why I drank more. I tried to fit in, So in recovery, I do need the community of fellows that understand, right, and have been there, and then also, you as well can help others as right. And so there's a lot of satisfaction that comes out of that. And so, what I got taught originally in London was that the fellowship and having fun, it's not boring. Because I did remember saying to Joel at one point, if this is Churchill's community centres for the rest of my life, you can stick it up wherever you want it, where the sun don't shine. And he just laughed at me and he said, no, it's the exact opposite. This is about freedom. How free do you want to be? And he described then, you can create the fellowship you crave and all of that stuff. And I went, okay. And there's a sense of community and belonging that you get. As well as then I developed a real close relationship with a high power, and I've just called it God. That all helps as well.
Mm,
But I need all three legacies what they have in the 12-step recovery unit in Serbia. I need all three. I can't just live
mm,
off one of them. I need all three
mm,
as the foundation, and that's strong.
mm. Talk us through that for a moment. For anyone who maybe doesn't understand what you just said, then
Yeah,
the AA triangle, the three sides,
yeah,
recovery, unity.
yeah,
Can you describe that?
yeah. So the recovery is obviously the 12-step program, and then the unity is the fellowship, and working to get together, and then service is helping others,
Mm,
and as well as serving the fellowship as well. So I've been very lucky. I've served in many committees and done a few things in AA and other fellowships as well. But
mm,
the primary one though is to take people through the work like I was taken through.
mm,
That really
mm,
helps me, and because having had that awakening, that's it. But then also not just in AA, in all affairs, right? And so what's evolved and grown over the last 21 years is my connection to a higher power to grow up as well. This is a large part of this whole program for me is waking up and growing up and becoming a man, with integrity. Because I never, I was emotionally a child when I came in at 34, prey to all of that emotional dependencies of being irritable and restless and fear and everything. So
mm,
growing up is having some principles of love and service and integrity and respect, and because certainly, and this is why I'm in a men's group, what we're trying to do in our men's group is to try to take boys into men and become decent human beings and decent men in society. And I'm talking about not just in AA, we need to be decent people in all of society, in
mm,
everything that we
mm,
do. And that's what AA gives me. It gives me a platform. It says in all our affairs. So what are you like in traffic today? What are you like at home? What are you like when you're doing the shopping? Well, you know, it's not about sounding good in an hour in a meeting and then
mm,
going home and doing something completely different.
mm,
So this, for me, the program has taught me a lot around all
mm,
of that stuff. And then it's got me to say, hey, go and see practices and tools where you can amplify all of that stuff. So
mm,
for me, it's a foundation that's enabled me to wake up and grow up and see what the real truth. Because I don't think I went through an adolescence. I just went into kind of there's if you think about it, years and years and years ago, there's lots of civilizations that taught how to become a man. You went through initiation. You went through how to go from adolescence into adulthood, right? I think we lost all of that.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
And I think AA gives us a chance to become decent human beings on spiritual
mm.
principles. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of us who come into recovery, we put down our substance or behavior and then other things start to pop up. My
Yes.
sponsor talks about it like a game of whack-a-mole, where
Yes.
you hit one down, another one flies up.
Yeah.
What's your experience been with that? And what's been the hardest part of your recovery?
Yeah. So I can honestly say, yeah, I've had that stuff. So in early recovery, definitely, it'd be like, when they put out sweets, or you call them lollies, on the table. I can't have one. I can't have one. I would have 10 or 12 or the whole packet. And that was just me, those kind of things. The hardest part for me was, I actually, when I did say it took me 3 years to find out that's moving. So I was in early recovery when I moved and tried in the new country. All I knew was my wife. Didn't have any friends here, so I had to build all of that. That was another hard part. But I just put one foot in front of the other in terms of getting out there and helping people and everything else. In other parts of in terms of recovery, it's the emotional stuff.
Mm,
I can honestly say I was learning how to deal with my emotions, which were extreme at times, and you know the version I am today wasn't that version in early recovery. I was all over the place sometimes with that stuff. And there is a frontier that it's been written about, which is emotional sobriety, because I didn't know how to react in certain things, or sorry, respond is a better word. I didn't know how to respond. I'd act out of fear. Because when I wake up, the noise is in my head still. I call my alcoholism the noise, and so I have to have the practices that quieten that noise down and then get on with my day. Some days I wasn't very good at it. Yeah, those are challenging times, and still can be. What I describe it now as is the episodes of that, the gaps in between get bigger. And actually, when I was in the Priory, Hilary, one of the lead therapists, got me to write in my big book a straight line. And she got started in the middle, and then she got me to draw a circle and a circle and a circle. She said, every time, this is going to be the journey of your recovery. And she's been absolutely right. And I've gone through so many things in 21 years. So the reason I came to Australia was, I got married, but that marriage dissolved in 2012, 13. By that time, we had a daughter, and she's a gift of 12-step recovery. All right. She's now 17. I've gone through redundancy, no money, no job, starting again, death of my dad through alcoholism, watch him die, drink himself to death. Those are the low points, but there's been some beautiful high points. I've gone back into my acting. I've traveled a lot, done a lot of spiritual work, been to India, did a lot of yoga and meditation, Bali, around this country, beautiful country of Australia. I've got to know lots of people through the fellowship and other things I've been doing. My work has blossomed. I'm now in cybersecurity, and I really enjoy that industry and everything else. So things have waxed and waned, but it's been a journey of growth, pain and growth.
Let's talk about those spiritual practices and the spiritual principles that you live by. You mentioned yoga and meditation.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that and how that has helped you in these rough times.
Yeah. So when my divorce happened in 2012, 13, what happened was my daughter was interstate. My ex at the time decided to take her out of the state, which wasn't to my liking, but I had to accept it. I didn't fight it. I used to go each month to go and see her, but that opened up then a period of my life where I went, okay, as well as AA work, what else? And I went back into my acting. So then I went to LA and did a whole course in acting at one of the leading schools there. And then I just discovered a lot of yoga. I went into yoga, so morning practices, breath, chanting. I love that. So just all techniques to connect me from my head to my heart, and open up the channel and get centered. Because I am hardwired when I wake up that the noise in my head is loud. And I've got all these, and there's a speaker that talks about it, and I so identify. I've got all these stage characters in my head that start off, and it's just on, and I have to quieten that mind because I can get easily irritable and distracted, and so I need to get centered. So yoga has been a massive part of that. Yeah, in getting into that.
The physical practice, yes, but then also I know that you practice all of the other limbs of yoga tradition as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And you'll be surprised how all aligned it is to AA principles, right?
I couldn't believe it, Sanjay. When I was doing my 200-hour teacher training, I was like, what the hell? This is the 12 steps, the yamas and niyamas. I was like, what is going on here? It's just
absolutely. Well, I do have a theory. I do think obviously AA's things comes from first century principles, Christian principles. I do think JC, he went east. There's a missing yes. I do profoundly believe it. He went east. and got taught, and then came back and taught it
Yeah.
and taught that
Yeah.
you everybody within us can have a direct relationship to the God of their choosing. Yeah,
That's so
I
beautiful.
really believe that.
Mm. So, what does recovery look like today, Sanjay?
Ah,
21 years in, are you going to
yeah,
slow down? Are you speeding up? What does it look like?
yeah. So as I get older, I feel younger as I get older. Actually, I still
That's
don't.
great.
I don't feel my numerical age, which I won't give away. But um, how does it look like now? Look, let's keep doing what I've been doing in terms of the primary AA stuff. I'm embarking now in a new partnership and relationship, and everything that goes with that. So I'm really happy, and um, and sometimes because I pray, and I think I thought all that passed me by as well. But when you found, I think, a new zest for life, and a bond and a connection, and I just want to keep evolving and growing, and I think I take it back to, okay, is this, because a lot of people say, is this God's will or your personal?
Mm, mm,
I think when these things in like alignment happen, and that you can be your most authentic self, that you can have safety and presence. So these are new things I'm just discovering in a new relationship. I'm going, wow, and it's just there and it's comfortable. So that's how, so recovery for me is not just my primary, obviously, from addiction. Everything else is about becoming the best version of person I can be in society and in my relationships and at work and at play. And now I've got someone who's just really who sees all of that, and I'm really happy. And
mm.
it's just like
That's
real happiness. I'm like, okay, because I've gone through some dark stuff. So people
mm,
want to focus on that. But I think there's also on the other side of dark is light, is
mm,
joy, is happiness. And so when these things come up in life, I think, great. So recovery now is don't get me wrong, primary. I have to do my primary practices and everything else. But now it can be, all right, there's going to be some screaming kids. How spiritual are you going to be now? You're going to get tested, right?
yeah.
That for me, because I had years and years, I thought, you know what? Because I was alone for a number of years, right? And I thought I might as well just go and live in a cave in the Himalayas. But my God's gone, no, 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 no. You're staying here. 'Cause I've got a job for you to do. And the true spirituality, I think, is living in society with family and kids or anything else that you want to do in life, and following your
Mm,
purpose and your dreams and your ambitions, and and going through it and being tested. you know,
absolutely.
and I'm never going to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, but enjoy it, because I do think life's too short.
So, Sanjay, we are nearing the end of our conversation here today, but there's one final question that I would love to ask you. Tell
Yeah.
me, what are your 3 non negotiables that allow you to live your life today happy, authentic, and free?
Non-negotiables: happy, authentic, and free. Okay. My non-negotiables are: number one, prayer and connection, meditation to God. I call it God. It's easier. It's evolved to God now. Um, and then also looking after my health
Mm,
in terms of eating the right things generally when I can. I have been naughty at times, doesn't matter. Eating the right things, working out, um, and that's physically, and then obviously mentally, spiritually, the techniques, yoga, breathing, chanting, all of that kind of stuff. And then
mm,
nowadays as well, I think the third for me non-negotiables is helping others,
mm,
and that starts off with the home and family, and then definitely other people that have gone through what I've gone through, and then helping them as my primary focus always. And then just treating everyone in society with love and respect, and how you want to be treated, right? And just going
mm,
through the world
mm.
with with that in your heart, right? And know that life, as I was saying before, I think life's too short. So to go through this world with anger, resentment, fear, all those other things that used to and can still do, don't get me wrong, dominate my life, it's just not necessary. We can see it like a cloud and let it move, and then just live on. Hey, love and service. So yeah, those are the three things for me.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's a beautiful place to end our conversation here today. We say here on Behind the Smile that when we recover loudly, no one needs suffer in silence. So Sanjay, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story.
Thanks, Ash. I really appreciate the opportunity for me to tell my story and give you a bit more detail. I just enjoy trying to help where I can. So thank you for letting me be of service to your podcast today.
Of course. Take care. Bye, Sanjay.
See you later. Bye-bye.